What is up, Rad Potential? We're back in the shop. Except this time, we aren't really working on any crazy project. This is a how-to rad informational video about ignition timing and distributor wiring on a 12, or I guess I could say a 12A, just on any distributor setup RX-7. And I guess, can we rephrase that again? Not even an RX-7. You could have your rotary motor in anything. This is just learning about rotaries and their ignitions. So, right here on the stand, and this is how much I prepared for this video, i.e. 0, so we're just going to wing it. Right here on the stand we got an engine. Under this piece of tape right here, which is good, I'm peeling this off, you have the timing, the distributor opening on the front cover. So, pretty much all rotary engines of anybody that's watching this video, the one you're going to have is going to have a front cover with a distributor port like this. Now an RX-8 and an REW and I think a Cosmo, so like the Cosmo RE engine, and then I think your assorted like 3 rotor stuff and stuff like that. The front cover is different and does not have this hole. It's going to have like, this will be blocked off and it'll have stuff down here for a like a trigger wheel. So anyways, this is your front cover. I just noticed I don't have a pulley on this motor, so I need to find a pulley real quick. But that hole is where your distributor goes. So I'm going to grab a couple distributors and show you the differences between them, so that way you guys know what you're dealing with. So there's one, and then I'm pretty sure I should have, well, we can just show you one of these too. And then I should have another one somewhere around here. That's what was on the silver car, but I can just go out to the white, or the white car. Go out to the blue car and show you. So most of the time, and this is a cap off the other one. Okay. Yeah. Most of the distributors that you guys are going to be messing with are going to be the later model first gen distributors, which have an electronic ignition. So look at this distributor. You can see there's 2 igniters on the distributor. Now, these igniters are what tell the coils to fire. So down inside your distributor, which if we can get some good light, maybe I'll just walk over here, you know. Down inside the distributor you have these little lobes, and you have these magnetic pickups. So each igniter corresponds to a magnetic pickup. You have a pickup for leading and a pickup for trailing. And basically as this triggers these, it tells each one when to fire with where the engine is rotated to, right? So this is timed with the engine. Timed with the engine timing. So I'm going to show you how to, we'll just say, quickly time this. But I need to find a front cover first. So let me find a front cover. If this takes too long, editing magic. Oh yeah, right there. Alright, perfecto. Maybe. Yeah. No. Who does that? This thing's got like 10 marks on it. Come on, people. Don't be marking up the pulleys all bad. Alright, well anyway, so a tidbit of information about the pulley while I'm looking for a pulley. The front pulley on an old school rotary, or just like your regular rotary car, will only fit one way. So the bolt pattern on the pulley will only allow it to fit on there such that it's timed right with the motor. Now, there are variations in, we'll just say, the front end. Okay, so like if you're using a FC eccentric shaft and front pulley and all that stuff, you want to make sure that you have the right pulley mount. So we'll just call it this thing right here to that particular eccentric shaft, because the machining for the keyway is the same. Now, I've heard that there's differences between like the FC and we'll say a 12A one, because if you put an FC front pulley on the E shaft on a put an FC pulley on a 12A E shaft, the keyway's off, so it won't line up right. Now, somebody might, you know, tell me that I'm wrong on that, and that's just what I've heard. However, all the motors that I build, I keep the front pulley with the series of the motor with the E-shaft. Generally, I don't have 600 motors of parts, so I don't have a ton of parts laying around, so it's fairly easy for me to just always keep them the same. And you really won't damage them, so just so you know, if you're swapping parts around, and most of the time if you are swapping parts around, you're smart enough to know what you're doing, just know that. So, on the front pulley, you're going to have 2 grooves machined into the pulley. Let me just set this down so I can make this focus right. So on the back of the pulley, which is the engine side of the pulley, you're going to have 2 grooves machined into there. So you can see, once this focuses, come on, focus. Right here, there's a little notch. And right here, there you go. So right there's a notch and there's a notch. Now, Mazda's smart, and the circumference of this pulley is 360 millimeters. So the distance between here and here is 10 millimeters. Basically, 10 degrees of timing, right? Because if you're 360 millimeters of circumference, 360 degrees in a circle, 1 millimeter is 1 degree. So, you take this pulley, which will be on the front of this engine, okay, turn it in the direction of the engine's travel, so intake's on the top, so you're going to be rotating this clockwise from the front, and you're going to rotate it until that first timing mark lines up with this nub on the front cover. See right there? So if it lines up right there, you're good. So that's top dead center of the engine. Okay, so once you have that lined up, then you're going to take your Dizzy, which I left over here. Or did I? Yeah. So you're going to take your distributor. And on the distributor, this is honestly the most confusing part about this whole bit. Because there's 3 ways to do this and you can really touch it. So, not really. You just might have detonation and stuff like that. But anyway, so on this distributor, you've got this little nub here on the body. And out here you have a roll pin. See through it? Roll pin. And then you have an indentation. You line up the dot with the nub. Okay, so line that up. Just like about like that, as close as you can get it. We're going to come over here to the engine. And another key thing. See this little distributor cap holder? Or no, it's this one. Make sure your distributor cap holders are flipped up before you insert this. Otherwise you got to pop it back out to get them out, and then you got to put it back in. So, line up the nub with the dot, not the roll pin, the dot. Okay, now you're going to insert this into the hole such that the bolt pin that locks the distributor is approximately in the middle. Okay, now if you watched, as that touched, it spun the rotor. This is the rotor. Okay, so you're going to push this down and it's going to spin a little bit. Now, this should point, there's an arrow. The arrow should point at the oil cap. So you can see there. This is your leading 1, should point right here. So, with that in there, it's timed. Like the distributor's aligned right. And what you can do is when you twist this back and forth, it's going to advance the timing and retard the timing. Okay, advance is forward, time is backwards. We're talking forward, front of the engine, time, or retard is back. Okay, so now, we'll just say that hypothetically, right? You get this knocked in right, you put your timing light on it, boom, you're a little too far advanced. You've got it all the way pulled back, and you're still running like 22 degrees of timing. Okay, and by 22 degrees, I mean on the pulley, you're about another centimeter past where that first timing mark is for the leading. And you're like, man, need to pull some timing out, but you can't get it out. So what you can do is, you might be off a tooth, pop this back up, twist it back, and put it back in. Then check your timing. Okay, so like when you're doing that, if you pull it all the way out and line your dot up, you might be back where you were. So you might just want to pop it up a little bit and turn it back one like you can feel it riding on that gear. Turn it back one and then push it back down. Okay, that'll give you more timing. Well, check it, but when you turn it, it'll give you more timing. And also, you can put this in on the wrong tooth and then you won't be able to advance the timing enough. So say you can only get 15 degrees out of it and you were running a Bridgeport motor and you want to get 30. So you would just cock it one tooth each way so you can crank the timing up. Now, So that's basically how you set this up. The timing light, I base all of my timing off the very first mark on the pulley. So the very first mark's the leading mark. Everything you base off of that. This does have these newer ones have a mechanical advance. Well, I guess it's a vacuum advance, but also has a centrifugal advance inside of it. So you need to be aware of that. So you don't want to lock your idle timing at 20 degrees because you're going to get another probably 10 or 15 out of the advance. So be aware of that. But you base all of it off the first mark. Normally, if you're running a stock motor, knock it in at 12 to 15, 17 degrees of timing on idle. It'll give it timing to like 25 or 30 and you'll be set. For like stock motor Bridgeport stuff, you might want to view more. I know on this one, I had a locked distributor, so no advance at all, and I had it locked, not on this motor, but my other motor, I had it locked at 30. Now the Repu has a distributor with an advance in it, and it's also set to like 20 at idle, so it runs up to like 30 something at full kill. And let me tell you, that thing's hard to start in the winter because it has a lot of timing in it. It pops a lot. It's okay. It rips. So now what we're going to get into, which is going to be a video basically of me talking and showing you stuff. Now what we're going to get into, I'm going to go up to the silver car and the race car, and I'm going to show you the wiring for the new style distributor. Okay, so basically 1979 and older is going to be a points ignition. You're going to have to set dwell, you're going to have resistors, you're going to have the whole deal. 1980, they switched to an electronic ignition, but the igniters, which are these guys, and these are a J109 igniter. In 1980, the igniters are mounted in a little case on the fender well. So the driver's side, right by the coils, on that strut tower, there's a case mounted there that's got both your igniters in it, but it's still electronic ignition. Still a very good ignition system, very strong for a lot of the carb stuff that you're going to be doing. And if you have a healthy motor, good plugs, you should be good to go. That's the distributor I was trying to find. I was going to show you the difference, because basically those have like some of them have a shorter cap, and the other ones have, the new style has like the tall cap. So we're going to run up to the other cars, and I'll show you how those are wired real quick. Alright y'all, so we're up here at the silver RX-7. So you know my car called the Mouse. It's a 1980 RX-7. Used to have a Bridgeport motor in it. We blew it up at Deals Gap last year. Go check out the video. It's super funny. We drove it all the way home with one rotor. Anyways, you can see that there's some rogue colored wires right there coming through this ignition system, right? So when I first put the Bridgeport motor, I was having ignition issues, so I converted it all to the new style and ditched my old ignition. Basically, all you have to do is come over here, and you have already, even on your 79, on your stuff like that, you're going to have an ignition power wire that when you turn the key on, it's going to tell the coils that they have power. Okay. That power wire should already be ran. You just got to find it. Keyed power. So basically, you're going to run keyed power to the positive side of both your coils. Okay. That's the same power wire. Right, so you see right here, literally, it just bridges from one coil to the next. You kind of can't see it because my light's really terrible. But right there's a red wire. You bridge the power to the power, and you run 12-volt power to it. Same thing from there. So your 12-volt power from there, you run 12-volt power to the positive lead on both your igniters. So notice, power, power. The red wire. It's the same red wire for all of it, okay? The same red wire. Now, for your negative side, the negative is the part that gets told when it sees ground, it fires the coil off, and that's what shoots the spark plug. So the negative wires have to be separate from each coil. So basically, you're going to have a ground wire, and you might be able to see here because I should have one marked. So see. Let me hold the light at this one. See right there on that green wire, you can see the red piece of heat shrink on it. So that's my leading coil, the front one. Notice I got them marked, leading, trailing. And this is their factory orientation. So leading's here, trailing's there. I just marked them. So that red wire there corresponds, or red wire. The green wire with the red tape corresponds to the green wire with the red tape up here. So that is the leading igniter, right there, that one. L, 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 L. Trailing is the back one. So you need to run a negative from the negative side of the coil to the negative terminal on the igniter. It has to be a separate wire. It doesn't go through the cap. It literally goes straight from here to there. And then for the trailing, you need to run one from its negative to the trailing igniter negative, separate wire. So you have 3 wires coming to the ignition. Basically, that's it. There is nothing else to this ignition system. Literally takes those 3 wires and you can have the ignition done on an RX-7. I don't even know if you can see my face, but so my rally car, which is also an 80, is wired up the exact same way. So all it has is the 3 wires, that's it, and it'll run. Now, it is common for these igniters to quit. So you can get one with a bad igniter when you're putting your truck together, your car or whatever, Volkswagen Beetle, Super Beetle. And it's a J109's the part number, and people ask probably a bunch of money for them. And shout out to I think it's RE Supply, which is Rotary Engine Supply, and he's on the East Coast somewhere. I think his name's Corey. He sells an igniter tester, so it's like this really fancy aluminum box, and you plug the igniter in, and then you ground it, and it'll tell you if it's good or not. So look that up, but that's a good tool to have. So you may have to replace igniters. Now, if you notice, my truck also electronic ignition, hack job wiring. But basically, see how this looks like a huge mess, right? So this is how easy it is to convert. Since you're already telling the resistors that you have keyed power to turn them on, you already have a power wire there. So why change it, right? So on the truck, all we did was make a new wire from the power wire of the resistor. So basically the other side of the resistor is not being used. We're just using those as poles and turning on these blaster coils, and then the blaster coils we ran a new wire to the distributor for the negatives and ran a new wire to the distributor for the powers. And that's pretty much all you got to do. It's really that simple. Like, these are not that hard to do. And then your tack signal comes from the minus side of your leading coil. So even on an older car, fairly simple. So we're going to go look at the blue car real quick, and I'll show you the 79 ignition system, just because it's a little older. And the same thing too, if you have a GSLSE, like that race car, or the brown one, those still use the exact same distributor, just with electronic fuel injection. So now, on this one, hopefully there's no critters in here. You can see there, distributor is short, noticeably smaller. You got vacuum advance, still got wires running to it. Over here you have all your, come on, focus. Focus, you have all your resistor packs running there. So 2 for the leading there, 1 for the trailing there. Same coils and all that. So that's basically the setup on this one. And it works essentially the same way, but it's not quite the same. So basically, you have to use a specific coil with a resistor pack. So you can't use like, you can't just buy an Excel or an MSD blaster coil off Summit Racing and run that with a resistor pack. Those are non-resistor coils. And hopefully y'all can see something. The one thing that sucks, a little Easter egg of information in this video. 79 cars, the hood prop is on the passenger side because they didn't change it from Japan, which would be the driver's side. It's a pain in the butt when you don't have a hood prop holder. It's also mounted to the hood, so it doesn't just fall down. Anyways, so you can easily convert any of them to that new ignition. You saw the wiring, it's super easy. On this distributor, you literally just need blade connectors. Hook them back up. These are getting hard to come by new, but you can probably find some used. Find a good buddy with some rotary engine stuff. But I mean, pretty much that's all you need to know about rotary distributor setup. It's super easy. They work really well. I mean, one of these, electronic ignition paired with a couple of good coils, and I mean, you're going to have good spark. Should run. I mean, that's what my race car, that's what the silver car, all the truck. That's what everything here is, and everything here pretty much rips. Now, I've heard of people, and this might not make it but into the film, but I've heard of people running like a lock distributor for boost, or setting one up to pull timing and boost. There's all sorts of cool distributor old school hacks you can do. And everything that I'm telling you in this video, I learned from forums and just from other people, from me asking them questions. So, I mean, this video will help you out a lot to get you on your feet. But the basic setup is, if you got to pull your distributor out, that's how you put it back in. And if you're going to convert to electronic ignition, that's how it works. There really isn't anything other than that to it. I mean, it's fairly simple. If something's not working and you're not getting spark, check power to the coils, check your ground wire to the distributor, test your igniters if you know those are working, test a different cap and rotor. Sometimes your caps can get all corroded and stuff in there, all the little points. Other times this center thing is the button. Your button can get wore out. Same thing with your distributor rotor. You should have some laying around here somewhere. So with your rotor, these tips can get corroded and chewed up and not working right. Or just change your spark plugs. You can see here, got a couple J1090 igniter spares, a couple of those coil spares. So, and if you found this video looking for FC ignition timing stuff, this is a CAS. This would be, I'm gonna bet 30, no, not even 22 seconds I can explain how to set up a timing for an FC. Mark it now. Alright, this is a CAS, crank angle sensor, 4-wire, same thing, S4, S5. You stick this in, basically, time it the exact same you did your distributor. So you're going to take this, you're going to line the little dot up with the nub, you're going to stick it in there with that sort of in the center. You need to go in your ECU and lock the timing, or figure out what the timing advanced in the ECU is, and then you adjust this, same way you would adjust the regular timing, to match the timing you got. If you're off a little bit in that, if you tell the ECU 15 degrees, but this is advanced, it might be actually seeing 20 degrees. So you're going to have to figure it out that way. But I know like in a Power FC or an RTEC or even the factory ones, you can lock the timing. So it'll only spray, say 10, and then when you set your time light on it, you just adjust that to where it matches 10, then you're good. So, anyways, that's the 411 in the whatever video of the Rad Potential YouTube channel, dropping some knowledge on rotary engine timing. Like I've said before, I'm not a pro at this. I do not do this for a living. I do this for fun. That's what I know. So, should work. But I can't, I'm not responsible if you put it in on the roll pin and don't put it in on the nub. Done that before. Also not responsible if you put your timing gear on backwards. Which is this little guy right here. Don't put this on backwards. If you put it on backwards, throw timing out the window. Might as well start over. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in on the Rad Potential YouTube channel. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see or hear or listen or sound or whatever. Just some cool old school rotaries, because that's what we work on here. And keep it rad.